For nearly 2 centuries, a photograph carried specific kind of evidentiary weight. It was, with rare expectations, with rare exceptions, proof that a moment had actually happened. A recording of a voice was proof someone had actually said something. That assumption, quietly load-bearing across journalism, law, and ordinary personal trust, is now dissolving in real time. The core dynamic here is a straightforward and discouraging arms race. Generation technology, the tools that create synthetic images, video and audio, is improving rapidly and is now widely, often freely available. Detection technology, the tools built to identify that synthetic content, is improving too, but structurally it is playing a catch-up. Every advance in detection accuracy trains the next generation of generation models to evade exactly that detection method. This isn't a temporary gap that better funding closes. It is closer to a permanent structural feature of the technology itself. If detection tools are locked in an uphill race, an obvious fallback is human judgment. Surely people can simply learn to spot what's fake. The evidence doesn't support much optimism here either. A meta-analysis spanning 56 separate studies found human reviewers identify synthetic content at barely better than chance. Roughly 55% accuracy, when 50% is a coin flip. Automated tools perform meaningfully better under laboratory conditions, reaching the mid-90s in accuracy. But that performance has been documented to degrade by 40 to 50% once ordinary real-world conditions like background noise or video compression are introduced. Neither humans nor current automated tools offer a reliable standalone backstop. This isn't a marginal problem affecting a small slice of online content. A Gartner survey of security and content leaders found 62% of organizations had already experienced at least one deepfake-related incident within the prior 12 months. Multiple major platforms and independent creators, including prominently established science communication channels, have publicly described a rising tide of AI-generated content specifically designed to imitate their existing style and brand, diluting audience trust in ways that are difficult to counter through detection alone, precisely because the content is engineered to be indistinguishable at a casual glance. If you can't reliably detect fakes after the fact, the alternative strategy is to build authenticity from the moment content is created, an approach the technical community calls provenance rather than detection. Instead of asking, does this look fake? Provenance asks, can this specific file cryptographically prove where it comes from? This is a fundamentally different and more promising engineering approach rather than fighting an unwinnable detection arms race. It establishes a verifiable chain of custody at the point of creation. The leading technical standard here is called C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, backed by broad industry coalition including major camera manufacturers, software companies, and news organizations. The mechanism works by cryptographically embedding a tamper-evident record directly into a place of media at the moment of capture or creation. What device or software produced it, whether and how it was subsequently edited and by whom. Crucially, this record travels with the file itself and breaks visibly if the content is later altered without authorization, meaning the goal isn't to prove a piece of content is good or bad, but to give any viewer a verifiable history to evaluate for themselves. The same way a wax seal once proved a letter hadn't been opened in a transit. Adoption is still early and uneven across the industry, but major camera manufacturers and several large newsrooms have already begun implementing it directly into their capture and publishing workflows. Regulation is beginning to catch up as well, through unevenly across jurisdiction under Article 50 of the European Union's AI Act, binding from August 2026 providers of all AI systems that generate synthetic image, audio, video, or text content will be required to ensure that content is detectably marked as artificially generated or manipulated in a machine-readable format wherever technically feasible. Penalties for non-compliance reach up to 35 million euros or 7% of a company's global annual turnover, a substantial enough deterrent to meaningfully shape how major AI platforms operating in the European market design their output going forward. It is worth being precise about the limits of this law, though. It addresses labeling of content generated by covered systems, not the deeper detection or provenance problem for content that's already circulating or produced by non-compliant tools outside the EU's jurisdiction. In the absence of a complete technical fix, the practical guidance converges on a shift in default posture similar to the verification over detection principle we've discussed in relation to deepfake fraud specifically for institutions, newsrooms, universities, corporations. That means prioritizing content provenance infrastructure now before it becomes a defensive necessity rather than a proactive choice. For individuals, it means treating a single piece of media, however convincing, as plain rather than proved by default, and specifically seeking corroboration from multiple independent sources before treating any single image, video, or recording as settled fact, particularly for anything genuinely consequential. We are living through the early years of a genuine optimistic transition, one where the burden of proof for this actually happened is shifting for the first time in almost 2 centuries, away from the media itself and back onto corporation, context, and verifiable chain of custody. That's the real loss inconvenience, but isn't an unsolvable problem. It is an engineering and institutional challenge, and the early tools to solve it, imperfect as they are, already exist. Thank you so much for your presence. I'm really looking forward to your comments, your questions, your reflections, and to see you in the next lecture. Till then.